How do I start my seedlings? I will do a video in the future on how I start my seedlings. So I will show you that. Another one is, why am I not doing geothermal to help cool my system? That's where I use the earth and everything like that. Smaller system, it's fine, but my commercial system I have will be such a volume of water that it just won't be cost effective to run all the pipes underground to help cool that much for the few degrees I will get. So that's why I talked about my other video about having you know, basically a freezer converted, you know, where I have pipes running through to cool the water down. That's why I'm not using geothermal. Another one, am I finding any online training? Really no online training. There's some good videos, you know, YouTube. There's a lot of great books and everything like that you can get. Matter of fact, and then for one thing is about the online is Nelson and Page, where I want my training. They're working with the University of Wisconsin at Stevens Point. They have a class now, and classes, I should say, and I got a feeling some of those will be offered online. So you can check that out also. And if you also go to Nelson and Page, Rebecca Nelson wrote a book about aquaponics. This is probably the best book I've ever seen. And when I went to her training, they gave us that book. And in hindsight, I wish I would have bought that book from the beginning. I would have bought it because it's an unbelievable book. It goes every aspect of aquaponics that you can think of. It's probably the most detailed written book on aquaponics I've ever seen. So that's a plug for that. I get nothing for that. I get nothing from them or anything like that. But it's just a really good book. Another thing is kind of an online class, but it's not aquaponics, it's aquaculture. If you go to vetmedce.org, vetmedce.org, they have a fish health course. It's course number 1052. Now they charge, but he was one of the speakers at Nelson and Page when I went to the training. The guy that leads this up is on their site. If you take a free survey with them, that's what he was saying. Part of the stipulation of him creating this course for them was being able to offer it free some way. So they said, okay, we'll have a survey. So if you take a survey, if you go to 1052, take a survey and get the course free, you can do that. And it'll teach you a lot about aquaculture, which will really help you out too. So vetmedce.org. So if you want to learn more about fish, take the survey, and it's course number 1052. You will learn a lot. It's good stuff. It's not just a cheap little online thing. It's a really good class. Excuse me. Another one is any aquaponic local groups. There is a couple in the area I'm in. I signed up for them about 9 months, a year ago. Really haven't gotten anything, seen anything, so I got a feeling it was a real active group and it just kind of puttered out over time. So, but if you do have a local aquaponic group, join. You will learn so much so quick, I'm assuming, because you'll probably be meeting at people's houses that have these. So that's another great way to learn too. Another one says, I said in a video about giving training, it will be winter, spring here when I do it. It's just going to be a one-day thing, you know, 6-8 hours about what is aquaponics, different stuff. It'll be winter, spring before I can do it. It won't be free, but it won't be expensive. I'm talking $5-10 a person. The only reason I'm charging is to cover the prints I'll be doing, because if I do it, I want to have everything printed out for you guys in a 3-ring binder or something like that to make it halfway decent, you know, because if you're taking notes so hard during the class, you'll miss a lot. So I want everything written down so you can just follow along, you know, and to cover the drinks or snacks we have. So that would be the only reason I'd charge for that. So it'll be coming up, and you can keep an eye on here if you want for that and everything like that. Another thing is, what is the sanitizing floor mat? And, you know, will I be working in wet shoes all day? No. Sanitizing floor mat is 1 to 2 inches thick. And on the outside, think of this as the outside, and the mat is here. The inside kind of goes like this. Traps the water in here. Now there's little fingerlings sticking up here, so you're not stepping down in an inch of water. you're probably only stepping down and going down about a ½ inch. So just the bottom of your sole gets wet, just barely up around the side gets wet. And that's what that is, and that kills everything you've walked in outside. So when you walk in, you don't bring, you know, anything inside. So another question I got is, what's that silver stuff around my fish tank called that you see me insulating with? It is called Reflectix Reflective Insulation. Home Depot or Lowe's, pretty expensive. Same thickness and everything. Comes in different sizes, and the bigger the size you get, the cheaper per square foot you can cut it. So if you want to do that, it's entirely up to you. Test kits for the water. Where do I get my test kits? The most inexpensive price I found was Amazon. If I need one in a pinch, the local pet store carries it. Now you do want to make sure you get the fresh water, not salt water. Okay? So, excuse me. So I just get it on Amazon, and you're good to go. And how often do I test mine? When you're first starting your system, you want to test it every day, you know. And after 2, 3, 4, 5 months, you can probably go down to every 2 to 4 days, okay? And this is for home environment. And after, you know, 9 months, a year, you can probably once a week, once every 2 weeks. I will still be testing mine every day in a commercial environment because it is so crucial for me of what I'm doing and everything like that will be my income. So I still will be testing mine every day. It only takes a minute or two, so it's really not that big a deal to me. Another thing is, what is this cycling thing I'm talking about with the cycling the water? Okay, like I told you before, the fish produce ammonia through their urine and their gills, okay? Ammonia will kill a fish. One bacteria turns the ammonia into a nitrite. A second bacteria turns the nitrite to nitrates. Now, that happens naturally, and it takes time. How much time? It varies. It just varies. You know, I wish I could tell you. So what the cycling is, and if you don't have, there's fish or fishless cycling. Fish cycling is you're only putting in 5 to 20% of the amount of fish you want in your system, a real low amount, just to start the ammonia's in, and after a while you'll get a big spike of ammonia, and your levels of nitrates and nitrites will be low, and all of a sudden your ammonias will drop, and your nitrites will be really high, and your ammonia and your nitrates will be low. Then after a little bit of time, your ammonia and your nitrites will be low, and your nitrates will be high, is what you want. So to speed that up, you can buy stuff. It's expensive. I would just wait. Then there's fishless cycling. It's just ammonia. Just a little bit of ammonia. Sometimes it takes 24 hours to ammonia to show up in your system, so don't add a lot. I'm talking just a little capful a day. You know, you don't need very much. There's also something what some people call Aquaponics, okay, and that is using urine. Now you just don't want to go out and pee in your sump pump or something like that because your urine has ammonia in it. You want to, I've never done it, but you want to urinate in a bottle and let the bottle sit for 2-3 days, and that'll get rid of some of the nasties you might have in your system and put that in your system. So you can do that too. If your place that doesn't have ammonia, or you don't want to buy any ammonia because you don't use any. But if not, just get some regular plain ammonia. Just, you know, I wouldn't use the lemon or anything like that, but just what you could. Just put a capful in a day. You're done, and you will see it cycled. And once you get your ammonia's low, your nitrites low, and you'll at that point your nitrates will just be spiked. Okay, you're cycling. All your bacteria is there. Like I said, it takes 24, sometimes a little longer for the ammonia to show. So if you don't see it in a day or two, and I don't have any levels of ammonia, so you had a whole bunch, and all of a sudden, wham, you got too high of ammonia, you'll have a problem because the bacteria can't live in a super high ammonia amount. Okay, just like the bacteria don't like to live pH below 6 and above like 7.5. Okay, that's your medium. Your bacteria don't like that. The bacteria you're happy is about 6.5 to 7. So, but then you got to look at your fish, what your fish want and need, and everything like that. So, another good question I got was, all of them are good actually, I shouldn't say that, is what levels are good for tilapias for the different stuff. So, I'll just run through these real quick. Alkalinity, you want 50 to 250 milligrams per liter. CO2, you want 0 to 30 milligrams per liter. The hardness of your water, you want 50 to 350 milligrams per liter. That's pretty wide open there. So are the others too, I should say. Your nitrites, you want 0 to 0.8 milligrams per liter. Pretty low, which you will have that once you have your bacteria. Your ammonia, 0 to 0.04 milligrams per liter, and that won't be hard to do once you're cycled either. Nitrates, I wouldn't worry about. As long as you're keeping close to that 1-to-1 ratio I talked about, you're fine. So I wouldn't worry. You'll have a pretty high level, and you'll probably still be fine. pH for tilapia, 6 to 6.1 to 8. They're pretty wide range. Temperature, before you have deaths, 52 to 99. Pretty wide range. But the preferred living environment is 64 to 90. So tilapias are really forgiving. That's why they're great for this. They taste great too. Another thing good about tilapia is a lot of fish you don't want a big pH swing. A tilapia handle pH swings better than a lot of other fish. So you still don't just want to throw your fish in. You still want to climatize them if you get them, but they're really good on pH changes too. So another question I got is, why doesn't the sump overflow if it's gravity fed to the fish tank? Okay. The fish tank gravity feeds to the sump. But if there's no water pumping back to the fish tank, water can't be, drained back. So if water stops coming in from the sump to the fish tank, then nothing can flow. So whatever the amount of water that's being pumped to the fish tank is flowing out at the same time. That's how the system is set up. And you can look at my other videos on how I set the drainage up there. The only thing you have to worry about is clogging. Clogging between your standpipe inside your fish tank to where it drains in there. And I had a mini problem. I have an emergency overflow that kicked in yesterday afternoon. And it was, I found this out, I'll tell you now, is my tilapia love sweet potato leaves. I mean, they devour it. They're not liking dried sweet potato leaves very much. And one of the feedings yesterday, I gave them some sweet potato leaves, and I tried it again afterwards, and that was it. They really don't like dried sweet potato leaves. They like fresh sweet potato leaves. So the dried sweet potato leaves sank to the bottom and clogged underneath. It didn't affect me because the way I had to drain, I got an emergency overflow that goes into that flowed too. So I just had about 2-3 inches deeper of water than normal. So clogging can be a problem. So that's why you want to check your system as often as you can. So if somebody's watching your system when you're gone, just explain to them the basic plumbing and what to look for. So that's how why it doesn't overflow. Another one I got is, what is the highest dollar item I can grow? That's going to depend where you're at and what item. As a general rule, in farming terms, a turn is how often something grows. If you're a traditional farmer, corn, you do 1 turn a year in that field. Okay. If you're doing wheat, 1 time a year in that field. Okay. In a greenhouse, it's okay. That head of lettuce takes 6 weeks to grow. That's 1 turn, okay? So if I have lettuce that grows pretty quick, is a good thing. So since space is limited, I want as many turns as I can get. So as a general rule, not always, the more turns you get, the more money you will make, okay? There are exceptions to that. Tomatoes are premium. You get a lot of premium. Tomatoes are extremely labor intensive in a greenhouse. Extremely labor intensive. So, excuse me, it probably doubles your amount of work in a greenhouse with tomatoes, which is significant. And then you have to make sure you get a variety that self-pollinates, which usually aren't as good. So you either have to have bees in the greenhouse, or you have to walk around and self-pollinate them, just little. And a good way I found that somebody does online in a commercial environment, which is great, is, you can go around and just tap the, flowers. they get an ultrasonic toothbrush. They turn it on and they walk around and they just buzz, you know, the toothbrush just right below the flower, and that vibrates it just like a bee does. So if you want to make it a little easier and you're doing that, get an ultrasonic toothbrush and just, you know, a regular toothbrush vibrates too much, but an ultrasonic one is just enough. I need to get a drink, I apologize. So that's one thing you can look at, excuse me, but tomatoes are very labor intensive, but you will get a premium. So you will make money, and there's no doubt, as many tomatoes as you grow in your greenhouse, you will sell every one of them if you start talking to local restaurants and local specialty shops that sell local produce on a smaller scale. Some of your, especially it's a real movement, the locavore, which is buying local food, and talking to restaurants. And a lot of those little restaurants sometimes have shops on the side or in front. And a lot of these you'll see downtown in smaller towns, okay? And a good thing about that is, they have to be real small towns, but you know what I'm talking about. Not like downtown Dallas, you know. But what that in turn is they are selling produce they're making in a little restaurant, but people also know the stuff in there's local, fresh, and everything like that. So you will sell it as a premium. You will make good money selling tomatoes. Just you understand it, it's a lot of work. If you're a big scale, most people I see that grow tomatoes commercially get out of it after a few years just because of the work. But maybe you'll like it. Hey, you know, you can go for it. And if you want to make a commercial kitchen and start making your own, you know, barbecue sauces, tomato sauces, and salsas and stuff like that, then that's a different story. You want those products for you, so then you'll be growing your tomatoes and pepper and onions for you. So then you sell that stuff at even more of a premium. So, but you wouldn't be making as many as, you know, otherwise. So just keep an eye on that. Another one is, do I need to prime the tanks before I paint them for IBCs? I did not. I just had a friend that primed his tanks, and he used Valspar plastic primer. It comes in a spray can. He had a standard IBC tank, and it took 3 cans, and he finished. But he got the clear primer, and he says he does not recommend whatsoever getting the clear primer because you cannot tell where you painted at all. So get a tinted color of some way, shape, or form, and then paint on top. Looking at that when he was putting it in and out, yes, it helped keep the paint on without. Hands down, it did help. Is it worth the time and the money? That's what you have to decide. I didn't primer mine because afterwards I just touch them up, and when they're sitting there, they seem to be okay. I probably have to touch mine up more often, but it's another one of those, you know, time versus money type things. Another question I got is, when I build my system, what is it going to be like when I get done? It's kind of hard to describe, and what am I going to have? Right now is we're kind of in the rough planning stages. I'm probably going to be having about 20% deep water culture, 30% vertical and NFTs, and 50% beds in my greenhouse. So I can't do as many deep water or vertical NFTs because of the heat here. A lot of the deep water I might not be able to use. I'll just have to have a crop in there that I might not even sell. That's just eating the, you know, nitrates out of the water. I'll probably be able to sell some basil and stuff like that. You know, herbs are a good crop, so I'll probably be able to sell some basil and some spinach here and there, but there will be a limited to that. Vertical NFTs really heat the water up a lot, so I really got to limit the amount I do there. So at least half of mine, 50% or maybe a little more, will be growing beds in here. Now I'm going to be making my growing beds out of lumber and then lining them. I'm not going to have really big beds. All the beds will still be about the 3x4, 4x4 size configuration. So it's easy to reach in from both sides. The drainage will be good. If you have a really big bed, it takes longer to fill, then you have to do multiple you know, siphons, which is hard to set up and maintain. So I'll just have smaller beds, which limits what's going on too, which is good. In case something happens to one bed, it doesn't affect all of them. Another quick people ask is, you know, what's that floor in my greenhouse? And I'll show you right here what they're talking about. Is I didn't even know I showed it. Right down there. You see down there. What that is set that back up. Sorry about moving that there. That's a storm shelter that we have below the concrete here. We had this here done before we were going to get into this big of a greenhouse, so that's why part of it's concrete, part of it's not. We knew we were going to have a greenhouse, but basically this concrete was going to be the greenhouse, and then we just made a huge greenhouse. So that's just a storm shelter, a tornado shelter. That's what that is down there. And another one is, question I got, and I'm going to end off with this one, is why don't big aquaponic systems generally go grow beds? Because stuff generally goes faster in the deep water culture, and you get more turns, you're more limited to what you can grow. But those kind of crops and beds go anaerobic over time, so they're more labor intensive. That's basically why. Deep water culture, the way the systems are set up, is they're very labor friendly. So that's something you want to look at. So something you just got to plan with and go. So, but I'll have a little bigger variety of what I can grow with more grow beds. Probably have a little more labor, but those are the stuff you have to choose. So that's it. That's all I'm going to have questions for now. I got a few more. If I didn't get your question, I really apologize. If you got more questions, please send them in, and I'll make another video as soon as I can on this. Updates on the system, there's really not much updated on the system. I haven't had time. I've been working so much lately. I haven't finished the deep water culture. Excuse me. I also have had a couple people come out that lived in the area that wanted to see the system, and I gave them a tour, and most people that look at the system are underwhelmed, kind of like, that's it. You know, it's not rocket science, you know, but people, I think, like I was, just worried and everything like that. But yeah, but that's it. I hope everybody has a great day. Any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I thank everybody for the questions. I thank everybody for subscribing. I do appreciate that. I thank everybody for sending the questions. And I had some people just say, hey, keep up the good work and everything like that. Thank you for those comments there. That just makes my day. So that's it. I hope everybody has a great day, has a great week. And remember, if you want to do aquaponics, jump in and do it. It's a fun hobby. You'll get great food and everything like that. But I do appreciate everybody. Have a great day. Bye.